From the other side of the Footlights, here is WHRO FM critic M.D. Ridge.
Imagine Salvador Dali in Brazil, and you've got a pretty good feel for Le Boeuf sur le Toit, The Ox on the Roof, the joyfully expressive work by Darius Milhaud that opened the Virginia Symphony program November 15th at the Regent University Theater. Its French composer had traveled extensively in Brazil and quoted freely from its lively folk dances, roaming from key to key, setting multi-rhythmic melodies at odds with each other as in an absurdist dream. Conductor Joanne Falletta danced on the podium, bringing out wonderful brass and woodwinds and a nice viola melody with infectious Latin rhythms. The work was originally written for a Charlie Chaplin movie that never came off, but the sparkling music lives on. The soloist for the Concerto No. 1 in E minor by Chopin was pianist Sara Buechner. As the orchestra began the first long movement, she sat quietly, hands moving on her knees, into the music before she ever started playing, then lifting her hands to the keyboard for declarative chords and ripples of descending arpeggios, her blonde candy floss hair bouncing with emphasis. Playing from memory, she has more than 100 concertos in her repertoire. She evoked a stronger, more muscular Chopin than we usually think of, at great speed with forceful pedaling. The second movement, Romance, was slower, with quiet, dreamlike delicacy ending in a breathless hush. The rondo was bright and cheerful, with Buechner bouncing up and down on the bench, feet flying on and off the pedals. She's a very physical player who uses her whole body to play, not just her hands. Falletta led the orchestra in bright, intelligent dialogue with the solo piano. Buechner's encore was a complete change of pace, a snazzy, jazzy arrangement of George Gershwin's Do, 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 after which the smiling orchestra members were on their feet. Closing out the program was Beethoven's Symphony No. 1 in C major, which launched Beethoven onto the Viennese music scene. Haydn was already there, the foremost composer of his day, and Beethoven, like Mozart, was influenced by him. The young Beethoven had already written many works, but this first symphony declared him a composer to reckon with. The first movement had a slow introduction with rhythm forming the basis of melodic and harmonic motion, closing with declarative chords in basses and cellos. The second movement, Andante cantabile con molto, used unusual emphases in the violins and low strings, then woodwinds and triple rhythm, very transparent and very, very nice. The minuetto wasn't what one thinks of as a minuet, all tinkly tinsel, but more of a galop with both delicacy and power and intense strings. In the final movement, Adagio, Allegro, molto vivace, fragments of phrases were repeated and augmented with bright, cheerful rhythms. The program was well suited to Regent's Theater, which is much smaller than Chrysler Hall. This creates a more intimate experience with the music, and I don't think there's a bad seat in the house. From the other side of the Footlights, I'm M.D. Ridge.